asked who or how do we avert these cases. Noah, good to have you.
Well, good afternoon to you, Brian. Indeed, this is a developing issue. The collapsed building in Ruiru we saw earlier yesterday, 9 stories, nobody was injured. A lot of questions. I mean, before a building comes up, what exactly happens? What are the processes? And is there preventive measures that can be taken from the professionals involved in this value chain of getting a building to 9 stories to ensure that there is, proper construction and the building is solid? Well, at this particular moment, I'd like to engage the Engineers Board of Kenya CEO, Engineer Margaret Ogai. I mean, that was quite unfortunate yesterday, and we've seen a number of cases going back. What is the role of the engineer when we have such an incident? How should we approach this?
Thank you so much. I think as we spoke earlier today, we have emphasized to all members of public, engineers are highly specialized, trained in building and designing safe buildings. So there's no doubt that they can do the job. But what has been happening, we have shortcuts that are being taken by different people. Normally, if we start at the county, maybe we've not done a very rigorous job at the checking of the designs, but I don't think that is a problem. The real problem comes as we get to the implementation. Designs we are doing the right way, they were following all the laws, but when we come to implementation, we've not had very effective engagement of the professionals. That has been one of the problems. We've also had materials is another issue. If we are not testing the materials, we sometimes also compromise on the materials that are being used. And I think, yes, I think those are the main issues that we have seen. The engagement of professionals by our developers has been lacking. Today we were told the cost of not using a professional is more expensive than if you use the right professional and followed all the standards. Unfortunately, let me give the last point, is that we also have buildings that have not been registered, so they are not under the radar of anybody. And there's only so much resources that either EBK or NCA or Borax can put on the ground. So if you find a project has not even had the basic registration at NCA, to even put in place mechanisms to monitor the work becomes very, very difficult. But
and I know the use of professionals, it is sort of synonymous with cost saving when you fail to engage professionals in some quarters are meant to understand. But looking at putting this into practice and countering this scourge that we're seeing in this particular field, how are you enforcing? What are the measures that are being taken on the ground to make sure that every building is properly, utilizing professionals?
Yes, I think, like I said, the first thing is registration, and that's why they've been developers have been given a 30 days notice to make sure their projects are registered. But if we go beyond that, we want to work with the local administration, because no building can also come up without them having a view of what is going on. So we are going to we've been discussing, and we want to even make sure we publish in a more simpler way the register, so that everybody can see which projects are actually registered and which ones are not. Therefore, after that, I think it becomes incumbent on the engineers board to confirm, are their own professionals engaged on the work? Is it only in paper or in practice? You come to the members of public. If they have an issue of concern, they can raise it with any of the relevant authorities. And we want to empower them with information to know that this building is registered, this one is not, this one has been stopped. So please carry that information forward. Local administration, we want to work with them, because ultimately they're the ones who cover the whole, the Nyumba Kumi. I think we want to use all structures that are there to collaborate with everybody so that we can make sure our buildings are safe. Yeah.
I want to bring in Engineer Morris, if you may just come here. National Construction Authority is always on the radar when we have such incidences. For this particular incident in Ruiru, so far, what have we established? What went wrong?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. And today is a day that we wanted to ensure that all the actors in the construction regulatory space work jointly together in a coordinated and in a very strategic manner so that we, once and for all, address this issue of collapses. So for the issue of the Ruiru building that collapsed yesterday morning, we have launched the investigations, but preliminary investigation indicates that the way in which that building collapsed, it could have been an issue with the foundation failure. And in addition to structural failure, which can be informed by the issue of materials and workmanship, substandard materials and workmanship. So far, those are the things we've been able to establish. But as we move on with the investigations, as we speak now, the multi-agency team, including NCA, Borax, and EBK.
Many thanks, my colleague Noah Kipkemboi, just speaking with the relevant authorities with regard to matters of building, construction, and the quality that is required here in the country in a bid to just avert the cases of buildings collapsing in the country. And we hope a logical conclusion will be achieved with that regard. Let's cross over to matters of agriculture. Rice remains one of the most intensely produced crops. And with that, it is one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gases emissions and climate change, owing to the large volumes of fertilizers and the large volumes of water that rice requires. Now, Kilimo Trust, a not-for-profit organization, is partnering with rice farmers in Mwea and West Kano irrigation schemes to scale up smart solutions that will help minimize